Hi everybody, I'm Bill Whittle here with my friend and colleague Andrew Klavan, who, the two of us together, are the only two members of the Brotherhood of the Traveling Pants. You want to know why they call us that? The reason they call us that is because the second that this segment is over, we are out of here.
With our pants.
With our pants on, for a change. Just for a change. Andrew, your topic today comes from Triforce, our regular stalwart friend. Triforce is back, and he asks, how has America affected the history of music?
No.
Was there music before America, Andrew?
No.
I don't think so. Not anything.
It's really interesting. One of the lies of culture, and I'm a culture vulture, I'm a culture maven, and one of the lies of culture is that in every age there is something worthwhile in every art form, and that's simply not true. Art forms hit peaks and they go into absolute areas of moribund, where they're moribund, and then usually come back unless they become obsolete, like painting, But there are moments, the British novel has this moment in the 19th century when it is the greatest art form on earth, and then not, then it's not. In the 40s and 50s, America created a body of music that was a body of popular music that rose to the level of art. And that is really rare. I mean, nobody really goes around singing Elizabethan ballads anymore,
No.
and they're quite lovely, but they just become irrelevant. Whereas the American songbook, the book that was written by these, by guys like Irving Berlin and Cole Porter and so many guys, Johnny Mercer, all of them. It was a unique moment where the simple, sentimental, romantic lyrics suddenly reached this incredible pinnacle of art, of artistry. And a lot of it had to do with white music and black music coming together in a way they never had before, and it was unique. And it's so important because it represents something really funny about American culture, is that American culture, because we've always kind of envied the culture of Europe, American culture is something that often takes place while the intellectuals are looking the other way. While the intellectuals are sitting around going, well, movies, yes, but are they art? It's really French movies, Italian movies. John Ford is making the greatest movies of all time, but they're Westerns, so the critics can't appreciate them. While the artists are going like, oh, yes, Tom Wolfe, what a brilliant artist. Mickey Spillane is writing these brilliant mysteries, and Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett are creating an entire genre of hard-boiled mysteries that are going to last for quite a long time. And so I think that there was this moment, and I think the moment is gone, but there was this moment in the 40s and 50s when this group of immigrants and upstarts and crazy guys suddenly took the popular song and turned it into an art form, and that's a classically American thing to do. And I just think it's a beautiful thing that we've produced.
Well, I have to say, you really surprised me on this one, and the reason you surprised me is, why so square, man? I thought for sure you were going to hit me with either jazz, which is a completely American invention, and the change.
That's part of that, though.
Yeah. Jazz is in everything. I mean, you just forget this whole idea of forgetting the metronome is the first great American musical invention, I think. But I thought you were going to rock and roll because you were talking about, no one's listening to Elizabethan songs, and nobody's really listening to Cole Porter anymore either. But people are, in fact, singing music today that is essentially not any different in terms of the style, the instruments that are being played, and so on, as were being played in the 60s, in the 50s even, in some cases. Right around the 1970s, music started to sound more or less modern. 60s music has kind of a 60s vibe, and 50s is the 50s. But right around the 70s with classic rock, you got into the kind of sound that is not in any way distinguishable from the rock and roll that's being produced in the 70s. See, 80, 90, 45 years old. It's like kids in the 60s listening to music from 1915. It's like they're listening to ragtime in the 60s or something. And I think rock and roll is the definitive American invention because rock and roll is about rebellion. The idea of rock and roll being invented in another country is absolutely inconceivable to me. It's built into this rebellious nature. This great old story about a cowboy had some British lord come over or something back, in the 1800s. He says, "I say there, farmhand, tell me where your master is." He said, "That sumbitch ain't been born." That kind of, that's like, it's in our blood. And I got to find the source of this quote, but you're talking about European intellectuals were saying, you Americans, your culture is nothing but cheeseburgers, motorcycles, and rock and roll. And the guy said, what else do you need?
Yeah, I have to admit, I don't agree with this. I think that the great moment in American music was really when Bing Crosby and Louis Armstrong stood together.
Oh, for God's sake.
And they called that rock and roll. They thought they did. They called it rock. It's rock and roll. And for me, everything that's happened afterwards has been a down. One of the things that happened to me it's kind of weird. I have very modern tastes in movies and books and all this stuff. But music, I grew up because my father was a DJ on a station that played the American Songbook. I grew up listening to Cole Porter, yeah, and I grew up listening to that guys. And when lyrics like "She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah" replaced "Flying too high with some guy in the sky is my idea of nothing to do," I thought, that's not an improvement.
No, it's not.
And so I still maintain that rock and roll is basically the echo, like in space, they have that echo of the Big Bang. I think rock and roll is the echo of that great moment, that Big Bang of the American song.
I was down on the Queen Mary about a month ago, and I was in the bar, and it's this incredible Art Deco bar where people used to sit in tuxedos and with Panama hats and suits and everything. Now that people in T-shirts getting beer served in plastic cups, I kind of feel the same way about culture in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, many of you audiophiles may have an LP at home, the kind of record player with a needle. Andrew has a mechanical thing that he steers with his feet, and it's connected to a series of vines, and a wood log turns, and there's a piece of tree bark, and a sharp rock is pressed up against it, and that's what makes the sound from the records that Andrew has.
I can tell you that is almost true. I bought a bunch of LPs and had to go out and find a record player, and I walked into the store and I said, I need a record player, and he said, what are you going to listen to, Pops, Bing Crosby? And I thought, yeah.
That's all we have time for today, ladies and gentlemen. We used to float the needle in that record cleaner. We used to literally put like an inch of record cleaning fluid on the record to float it above the pops and hisses. That's all we have time for today. You can let us know what questions you'd like answered below. They'll be presented to you in full HD digital quality with no loss and no scratch and no cassette hiss, because the Dolby is a giant lie. For Andrew Klavan and PJTV, I'm Bill Whittle. Thanks for watching.